Hello, imagine this situation. A charming young woman pretends to be a robot and gets a job as a maid in the house of wealthy heir to a famous company. She must do everything she can to avoid being exposed, or else she will die. I wonder what will come of all this. Let's find out. Arthur Zetis, a young billionaire surrounded by luxury and mistrust. He has long been disappointed in people and no longer believes in sincerity, considering emotions to be a weakness and seeing attachment as nothing more than a threat. On the other hand, there is Mary Evans, a former martial arts champion. She is forced to pretend to be a robot because of her debts. She is reserved, quiet, and shows almost no emotion. So, is Mary the girl of your dreams? Roy, Arthur's butler, hires Mary. Your human nature becomes their shared secret. Our hero's acquaintance is quite delicate. Arthur refused to believe until the very end that it is possible to make a robot that looks so much like a human being. However, Mary's lack of emotion convinces Arthur that she is a robot. You know, Arthur doesn't really need a maid, he needs a bodyguard. Someone is constantly hunting the young billionaire. They plant a bomb, bug his phone, or leave razor blades in his flowers. Honestly, I still don't understand how he's still alive. What about security, you might ask? And I'll answer, there are no security guards as such. And the question here more for Arthur himself. After all, he fires everyone. None of the employees stay there for long. There are no bodyguards, which is probably why Arthur is such a suspicious, strict and reserved person. Or is he? As soon as the butler leaves the room and Mary and Arthur are left alone, the guy's expression immediately changes. He becomes soft, naive like a child and cute? Marie almost gave herself away at such a sudden transformation. It was so unexpected. So, Marie was enrolled in Arthur's school. There she looked up to him and studied like a normal school girl. Let me introduce you to Maynard. He is Arthur's stepbrother. At first glance, it might seem like they get along, but it's actually Maynard who keeps hiring hitmen. He is not happy that Arthur became their dad's successor and that all the wealth and power went to his brother instead of him. Arthur knows about Maynard's antics, but he considers them childish and doesn't take them seriously. One day, Arthur is kidnapped and Mary rushes to his aid. She gets beaten and badly all the way, but manages to save Arthur at the cost of her own life. This strengthens the bond between Arthur and Mary, but it becomes increasingly difficult for the girl to hide her human nature. The next test for Mary was Arthur's family dinner party. While everyone was chatting and enjoying each other's company, she managed to find and disarm another killer who had planted a bomb. Yes, it caused a bit of a commotion and almost ruined the dinner, but in the end everyone was incredibly grateful to Marie. And Arthur continues to show Marie signs of affection. He seems indifferent to the fact that she is a robot. He even gave her a beautiful dress and almost kissed her, but Marie reacted in time and ran away. The girl didn't think it would go that far. Before that, she had let Arthur lie on her lap a couple of times, but it was more of a friendly gesture of support. But the guy wouldn't give up and continued to show her attention. Marie did everything she could to avoid him. At times, it was very funny. It's funny to see an unserious guy acting like a naive child, and Marie is a real generator of excitement and cringe. In a good way, of course. She pours oil on her hair, drinks water from a canister. Sometimes it seems that Tetris' artificial intelligence is more intelligent than Marie. In general, this moment is played off perfectly in the anime, and you can stop smiling while watching it. However, the butler Roy sees the situation differently. He notices that Marie sometimes does a very poor job of pretending to be a robot. This is dangerous because Arthur could expose them both. So he decides to fire Maria and replace her with a real robot this time, and the butler almost succeeds in carrying all this plan, but Arthur intervenes in time. Yes, the new Robot-Maid does have many useful functions, but compared to Mary, she's just a soulless piece of iron, and as it turned out later, there were flaws in her system. The robot mistakenly considered Mary a threat and attacked her. A fight ensued. At one point, Arthur even then covered Marie with his bag, but in the end everything turned out fine. Marie returns to her post as a robot maid. How do you think Marie would answer the question? Marie, how do you recharge your energy? The girl couldn't think of anything better than simply clamping a battery between her lips. A critical thinker would consider this a silly joke, but Arthur believed it. As strict and principled as Arthur is toward others, he is just as naive and foolish when it comes to Marie. One day, Arthur decided to take a break. He took Marie with him as his girlfriend. The situation is complicated by the fact that now the girl has to play the role of Arthur's beloved. No one has cancelled the robot girlfriend mode. Now Marie has to flirt and court the young man in every way possible. This makes both of them uncomfortable. The girl has no experience, so she follows the example of passing couples. It was difficult at first, but soon she got used to this role. In the end, they almost kissed. This way prevented by the killer, who nearly wounded the young man with a sword. Marie, being an experienced fighter, almost caught the villain, but he escaped. The next day, a new student came to Marie's class, the very same killer. The guy's name is Noah. He liked Marie, so he came, but he knows that Marie is not a robot, but a human being. He even got hold of some photos that prove it, and now she has to choose between two fires, Arthur and Noah. She can tell Arthur that Noah is actually a hired killer, because then he will expose her. Noah uses blackmail to get Marie's attention. Arthur, who sees them together, becomes very jealous. The boys cannot share the girl and decide to hold a small competition to catch chickens that have escaped from their environmental studies class. There are 7 chickens in total, and the winner is whoever catches the most. At first the guys are neck and neck, but at the end one chicken gets lost in the bushes. To help Arthur, Marie climbs a tree and accidentally falls into the water. While Noah was catching the last bird, Arthur rushed to save the girl. In the end, even though Noah won the competition, Arthur's action played a key role in resolving the dispute. Marie stayed with Arthur. After sudden water treatments, Arthur fell ill. He has a fever and dizziness, but he continues to walk. To get the young man to listen to her, Marie put on nurse's costume, and the costume, by the way, is not just any costume. It has been passed down from generation to generation. What makes it so special? It's simple. In some places, the outfit is too revealing. The men in Arthur's family could never go against the word of a woman dressed in such a costume. And now that Marie has dressed up as a nurse, Arthur, like an obedient dog, put aside all his business and agreed to begin treatment. This is a very controversial point. The anime maintained a standard of modesty until the very end, but here everything is so straightforward and explicit that you can help but wonder, could this be hentai? Of course, I am exaggeration, but I think it's clear what I mean. I suggest we stick to the idea that I just misunderstood something. So the treatments were beneficial and Arthur was already healthy the next day, but villains never sleep. They were already preparing a new plan to overthrow the young billionaire. At the next event, Arthur was given a sleeping pill, but Marie arrived in time and saved him. It's all Noah's tricks. He's trying every way possible to get Marie to side with him.
Although the main characters remained unharmed that evening, the robot Marie suffered greatly. Butler Roy even had to take her to the workshop and reassemble her piece by piece. However, this turned out to be beneficial. New firmware helped the robot establish a connection with the main character. Now they can be considered friends. In difficult moments, when the situation between Arthur and Marie becomes too intimate, the robot Marie is right there. She helps Marie cope with her emotions and not be exposed by Arthur. However, sometimes the robot Marie is too much, and our heroine begins to be jealous of Arthur. Arthur's birthday has arrived. However, the young man is not thrilled about it. For most of those around him, Arthur's birthday is just an excuse to hurt him or curry favor with him. The guy is used to seeing gifts as a threat. Marie decided to fix this and bake a sweet gift for Arthur herself. However, the girl was not used to cooking and therefore made many mistakes. Instead of sugar, she put salt. Arthur managed to restrain himself and not grimace. The gift may not have been great, but it was from the heart. Therefore, the young man appreciated this gesture of love and attention. But Arthur decided to return the favor. He prepared a bunch of batteries for Marie, neatly arranged in the shape of a cake. Meanwhile, events continued to unfold. During this time, Marie herself finally needed assistance. Fanatical scientists lured the girl into a trap and decided to take her apart piece by piece to understand her inner workings. The robotics engineers had already prepared their screwdrivers, but Arthur arrived just in time and saved the heroine. The girl was tied up, her clothes were badly wrinkled, and her shirt was see-through. How to get out of such an awkward situation? Marie pretends to have lost her memory, but Arthur is not one to shy away from a challenge. He decides to take advantage of the situation. The guy says that before the girl lost her memory, they followed 7 rules of flirting. Rule 1, hug in the morning. Rule 2, walk to school holding hands. Rule 3, open your mouth, in other words, feed each other from your hands. Rule 4, look into each other's eyes. Rule 5, lie on your knees. Rule 6, stroke each other's heads. Rule 7, kiss on the lips. But wait, Rule 7 never happened. Arthur asked Marie to close her eyes, and she was already waiting for a kiss, but he just confessed that he really regretted Marie's lost memories. After all the moments they had shared together were very dear to him. Marie decided to give up on her amnesia and pretended to regain her memory. Everything returned to normal. It was time for the school competitions, and Arthur, like a true gentleman, was passionate about equestrian sports. During one of the performances, Arthur lost control of his horse. As it turned out, it was the work of his enemies. One of them hid in the crowd of spectators and shot the horse with an air gun, causing the animal to panic. Arthur sprained his leg. The instigator was Daryl Blockfield, Arthur's former friend. They got along well in elementary school. At that time, Arthur was young and weak and had not yet received his inheritance. Many bullied him and Daryl, but the boys stuck together no matter what. Once, before an important performance, Daryl treated Arthur to a drink. Soon Arthur fell asleep right on stage. At first, it seemed that it was due to fatigue, but while walking through the school park, Arthur heard Daryl bragging to other boys about how cleverly he had set Arthur up by slipping a sleeping pill into his glass. All this time, his friend had been a wolf in sheep's clothing. But let's return to the present. A game between the schools is about to take place. Due to a leg injury, Arthur will not be able to participate in the competition, so Mari has taken his place on the school team. I don't know what this sport is called, but it somewhat resembles American football. One way or another, with Noah's support, Mari's team wins, and Arthur exposes Daryl for cheating and playing unfairly. The life of a high school girl is very busy, so much so that Mari doesn't have time to study and gets bad grades on her tests. This is dangerous because she could be expelled for poor performance. Arthur is shocked. Since he still thinks of Mari as a robot, he suggests turning to Roy to upload knowledge into Mara's head. But the girl realizes that this is impossible, so she says that downloading all the information would take at least a week, and the next test is happening in the coming days. Nothing could be done. Arthur and Marie decided to study extra after classes. However, Noah was already waiting for them. Marie was afraid that he had decided to kill Arthur, but everything was simpler. Noah likes Marie, and he wouldn't want her to be expelled from school. He was even ready to help improve her knowledge in Arthur's presence, so the trio studied together all the remaining day. However, the evening turned out to be difficult as well. The butler Roy, along with Robot Marie, stayed until late at night to ensure that the girl filled in the gaps in her knowledge. With everyone's joint efforts, Marie still managed to get the minimum passing score and remain at school. Since the important exams are already behind him, Arthur decides to go on a resort trip with Marie. Sun, beach, light breeze. But even here, Arthur's enemies find him. His stepbrother Maynard attacks him with a huge combat robot. Robot Marie manages to defeat the enemy, but in the end, Arthur and Marie find themselves isolated on a closed beach. Soon they are overcome by hunger, and while Arthur can drink coconut milk, Marie cannot do so in front of him. Yes, Arthur has spare batteries for Marie, but she is human. Then it starts to rain. Arthur panics and takes Marie to a cave so that water doesn't get into the microchips in her head. But then Marie the robot descends from the sky on a propeller and saves our heroes. And what do we have coming up? We have an evening of fireworks to celebrate the autumn holiday. Marie enjoys Arthur's company, but she misses interacting with her peers. She decides to find new friends, but compared to other girls, the emotionless Marie really does look like a robot. She tried different ways to establish communication, but every time something went wrong. Either she scared everyone away, or she caused an allergic reaction. In short, everything went wrong. Marie has already lost hope of spending the fireworks fireworks evening with her friends. And now someone has broken a vase and doesn't want to admit it. The teacher has set a condition. If the culprit doesn't confess, the whole class will be punished and won't go to the party. Marie decides to sacrifice herself for the sake of others and confesses to something she didn't do. When Noah found out about this, he flew into a rage and found the real culprits. Marie thanked him and admitted that she couldn't make any new friends. The guy advised the girl not to overcomplicate things and just go up and introduce herself. And it worked. The fact that Marie was willing to take the blame for the vase for the sake of others made her look even better. Remember the compromising photos that Noah once found on Marie? It turns out that all this time, this information was publicly available. Butler Roy carefully deleted it all, but left Marie one paper copy as a memento of her achievements. The girl foolishly left it on the balcony, and the wind blew it into the courtyard. And, as luck would have it, Arthur finds it. At first, he tries to find information on the internet, but finds nothing. He decides that it's someone's prank. However, doubts increasingly fill his mind. And then, passing by the kitchen, he overhears a conversation between Roy and Marie. It turns out that Marie is a human being, not a robot. However, the situation is complicated by the fact that the butler sets a condition for the girl. If all this comes to light, he will be forced to send Marie far, far away. Both the girl and the butler are afraid that Arthur will lose his temper when he finds out the truth. And such a plan, in their opinion, will allow them to settle the conflict as quickly as possible. However, when Arthur found out that Marie was actually a living girl and not a robot, he was, on the contrary, glad and happy. Why didn't he resolve the situation himself? That's a good question. This is precisely the kind of cliché situation that is typical of various kinds of melodramas. The main characters come up with something and then can't figure it out. Arthur is afraid to admit that he knows everything. He doesn't want to lose Marie, because then Roy will get rid of her. You know, maybe I'm missing something again. It all sounds kind of silly. But let's not dwell on it and move on. So, Arthur continues to pretend he doesn't know the truth, and Marie continues to play the robot. The couple goes to an amusement park, where they meet 14-year-old Isabella, the fiancée of his stepbrother Maynard. Despite everything, the girl insists that Arthur will be her future husband. She senses that Marie is not who she claims to be and sees her as a rival in the battle for Arthur's heart. She exposes Marie at the moment when the girl decides to take a sip of fresh water. This becomes a subject of blackmail. Marie is forced to insist that Arthur take Bella to places and attractions for lovers. However, Arthur cannot stand spoiled little girls, which he admits to Isabella. The girl throws a tantrum and runs away. Marie runs after her. The ladies pour out their hearts to each other and make up. It turns out that Isabella lied about her feelings for Arthur. She was pestering him so that Maynard would pay attention to her. After all, it is him she loves. I'm writing the script right now and my head is about to explode. The plot isn't complicated, but it's so confusing. And the anime is already nearing its conclusion. One fine evening, Marie was taking a shower. Arthur discovered her doing this. The guy knows that Marie is not a robot, but a real girl. But Marie doesn't know that he knows. A situation unfolded there. I won't go into the details of their dialogue, but in the end, they figure out their feelings and are about to find common ground when Arthur suddenly loses consciousness. It was all because of the poison, which took effect only after some time. Arthur entered the shower already poisoned. Arthur's body was used to poisons, so he soon came to. But there was a small side effect. He completely forgot about Marie. He doesn't recognize her at all. Arthur's memory returned to the state it was in at the beginning of the anime. Everything the main characters had gone through was suddenly meaningless. Marie, who thought that everything was behind them and that she and Arthur could now be together, was deeply depressed. She tried with all her might to restore Arthur's memories, but it was useless. Only an antidote could remedy the situation. To get the medicine, Marie had to go to Maynard's palace because it was on his initiative that Arthur was poisoned. She changes her clothes, making it almost impossible to recognize her. While fighting the villains, Marie meets Noah. He sees how bad Marie is feeling. He can't stand to see her suffering from unrequited love. Noah decides to go against Maynard and gives the girl the antidote. Marie can't believe it, but there's no time to waste. Isabella helps them escape from Maynard's mansion. Marie brought her along on purpose so that Bella could finally confess her feelings to Maynard. And you know what? Maynard and Bella are two peas in a pod. They are both malicious and stubborn to a fault. In the end, Marie returns to Arthur and offers him the medicine. However, he refuses. As a result, Marie takes a desperate step. She empties the bottle of medicine and, in a passionate kiss, passes it to Arthur. Marie turns around and runs away. As soon as Arthur comes to his senses, he remembers everything and runs after Marie. He catches up with her and hugs her tightly. They didn't have to wait long for the engagement. The young couple had a lavish wedding with many guests. Even Noah and Maynard came with Isabella. Noah is happy for his beloved girlfriend, as they say, if you love someone, let them go. Arthur decides to give up his inheritance and pass it on to his stepbrother. Maynard was certainly happy and calmed down a bit, but because of his mischievous nature, he took it as a handout. But now Isabella is watching over him, so he will definitely do less stupid things. Arthur's father also came to the wedding. It is not even known when they last saw each other before. And so ended the story of Mechanical Marie. It's a funny and cheerful anime. If you want to have a good time, I definitely recommend watching it. Some parts will make you laugh, some will make you cringe, and some will even make you cry. All in all, I recommend it. That's all from me. Thank you for your attention. See you again.